everybody, welcome to my channel for new battle report. This is another practice game. I played against one of my teammates from ETC Switzerland, Xavier, who was playing Warrior of the Dark God. You know already my list, same as the last battle report. And my opponent was playing the following list. He's playing an Herald, then he has a Chosen Lord with the Idol of Spite and Burning Potent, so very killy Chosen Lord, Gauntlet as well, so yeah, it's a very good one, very mobile, and he can do a lot of damage in close combat against my army. Then he has an Adept on the Black Steed of Alchemy with the Book and the Rod, so 4 spell, 3 unit of Horsemen, a unit of Warhall and Flayers that can act as chaff, 2 Feldrak unit with Great Weapon and full command Discipline banner, and 1 Feldrak Elder with a Great Weapon. We played Spoil of War on Dawn Assault, and below we have the spell selection. Nothing crazy to talk to you about here. I think some sensitive choice here. Also I can talk about the manifestation. He picked with the Herald the R target 1. I think to be less threatened by my poison shooting, which makes sense. And the second one was the Veil Walker. So yeah, I think two good choices here. Not so combat oriented, but still decent in this matchup to not suffer too much from the poison shooting. The matchup analysis quickly. So the multi-wound Chosen Lord is the main combat threat. Like I said, I need to pay attention to him. I have some answers. I have a 3-up ward save mage against fire. I have my Great Khan that could potentially fight him. Could use potentially Binding Scroll on the attribute of Alchemy and then cast multiple times the -1 to wound. And yeah, if he wounds me on 6-up, probably he won't kill me. And then he's in danger. I think he cannot go easily alone against my unit, thinking about bruises and Merkvet with Albert, because strength 6 is too much for him. He could easily die. I made some math about the fact that if he could charge alone into the Merkvet, and I made that calculation after the battle, but if he charge alone against my Albert Merkvet, he has a 41% chance likelihood of dying of the attack of 4 Merkvet strength 6. So yeah, it's enough danger for him to probably not come alone. Deal with the chaff as soon as possible to get board control. I think it's the usual game plan against this type of army. It is also combat oriented. I want to get some easy points first of all, and second of all to get rid of the chaff should allow me to get more board control, because I have myself multiple chaff pieces that I can use. Starting is always key in this type of matchup, because we both have close combat armies, and the one can get some board control, push forward, and get probably a small advantage on the secondary. Estimation of the matchup is drawish. I know it's like an unstable draw. It's how I would rate most matchup against War of the Dark God, because it depends a lot who starts, how is the map, what is secondary, and depending on that and the way we are deployed, we know a little bit who has more potential to win it. In this case, my opponent won the roll for side, which I was happy with. He gave me the impossible, obviously. And I deployed for first turn, so I put on the left side the Albert Merkvets that are looking forward to push hard in this zone. I try to correct the mistake that I did last game against the VC, which is putting the shooting Merkvets on the left of the Death Star, this time to really close this left part of the map, thinking if he deploys the Feldrak Elder or something with high mobility that can move to the side easily, I could easily move forward and shoot him. So that's something I wanted to really punish in case he does that, but he didn't. Then the dogs, Tribesman, the Death Star with the 2 mages and the Great Khan, the Frosty and the Giant. His counter deployment, he decided to minimize my shooting option from turn 1, which makes sense. Put the chaff pieces here, the Chosen Lord within the big unit of Horsemen, the 2 Feldrak unit, the Herald, Horseman, and the Feldrak Elder here on the far right. So he's pretty far away from me, but looking forward to push hard and create a strong flank. And basically my unit here on the Merkvets on the left are a bit out of action at the moment, but what I'm looking to do is to really push hard forward and try to go back to a solid battle line, trying to put pressure, because we are going to fight for this central marker basically. My turn 1. So I push hard. As you can see now, the battle reports are really cool with Warhall, because it tracks all the movement, so I don't have to talk so much about what movement I did. But as you can see, the idea will be to claim the left spoil with this unit instead of the Merkvets, because that would slow them down too much. Other than that, yeah, since I had no shooting option from turn 1, I marched forward. Didn't move that much with the Death Star. I wanted to keep a battle line. If I push too much, I would be too close from the hill, and I felt I could be in danger in case he wants to push hard and chaff me turn 1. And I kept my chaff a bit more far away to be able to chaff up to the hill if I need to. And my monsters started to move towards the right. So basically, you see the idea is to try to stall his advance on the right, and left flank push as much as possible to create a good battle line, get this easy spoil, try to be strong here, and maybe win the battle of the center, while on the right I'm trying to gain time and maybe create opening where I could charge with 2 monsters. I know that in 1-1 battle any of this unit would kill one of my monsters, but if I can get a double charge into any of these, I would be winning it with a high likelihood. A magic phase, get the fireball on the dogs, kill 3 dogs, then I got the 2d6 strength 4 on the dogs, and I managed to roll a 666 on 3 dice on the card number 1, which is the miscast with 4 hit on the 4+. I did 2 wounds to my mage, which is bad news because it's the mage with the ward save against fire that I could potentially use against his Chosen Lord. And I kill only 2 dogs with the 2d6 strength 4, which is bad news as well because I left 3 dogs alive, meaning it can still chaff me. The 2 blaze went into the horsemen, trying to kill some of them. So I kill at least 2 horsemen. But yeah, not great because he can still use the chaff. And basically, yeah, I lost a couple of important wounds on the mage. His turn 1, he activates the chaff that is going to die, pushes the rest a bit forward, but still stays off the hill with this unit of Eldrak. And the rest here on the right, basically check that I cannot move out of arc. He doesn't want to get easily double charged, so it's hard for him to push that much on the right. In the magic phase, I dispelled Gravecold with my 5 dice against his 4, and he got Quicksilver Lash on 2 dice. Managed to do 2 wounds on the Frosty, which is not a good news for me. My turn, I charged the dogs. The rest didn't move much with the 2 main units here. Yeah, that's it. And I push hard again with the Mercvets, trying to... I'm managing slowly to form a good battle line. Here move slightly back, yeah, just rearrange the monsters, stayed a bit far away for the charges, but still threatening him, still keeping more than 6 inches in case he one-shot one of these with the magic. And here, as I usually do, I think, yeah, here I moved a bit forward this unit, but not much. Here I move also a bit back to cover some angles and so on. In the magic phase, what happened? I tried to, since I gave him an 11 charge here, I tried to protect a little bit my bruises because that could still be a dangerous charge. So I cast a hereditary on 2 dice, I fail, then I fail +1 resilience on 3 dice, but I managed to get -1 to wound here. So the third one was the good one. With the attribute, I kill one character, one of these horsemen, and with shooting, I kill 3 more. So I'm starting to thinning them down. A close combat, I got rid of the dog and just reform. His turn. He elected not to charge my dogs, so just move a bit forward with both units. Put the flayers to the side, far away from my shooting. Move here on the token, so basically push forward, but gave me like at least 1 long charge to attempt me to charge, but if I get only 1, I'm getting counter charge. I still cannot escape any line of sight with the giant, and the Exalted still stays behind the hill to not get shot at. In the magic phase, this time he tried Quicksilver Lash on 3 dice, but failed this time. Then he got Spear on the Frost Mammoth, but didn't manage to roll a 4+ to wound, and he failed on 2 dice, the +1 armor save. So not a good magic phase for him as well. Nothing taken this round. My turn 3. I thought something. I have a charge here on 11 Swift Stride on both units. And basically, if I make it onto the Feldrak, it's an overrun into the flank of him, with basically nothing to countercharge me. I think that's the end of the game. That's most likely him dead, or fleeing, and myself making a post-combat pivot in the middle of his line. So that's for me an 11 Swift Ride that is game-breaking charge. If I fail it, nothing bad happened because I can easily use the dog to chaff him. And no matter what, I want to use the dog to chaff because that would allow my Mercvets, shooting Mercvets, to move forward and shoot the flayers. So I'm going to attempt this charge. It's 11 Swift Ride. If I make it, great. If I don't make it, no downside really. So I said, let's try it. I failed the charge. and activate the chaff piece in front of the Chosen Lord that cannot go out of the unit. Those guys are chaffed as well, so I can use one piece of chaff to chaff 2 units, which is great. Move those guys forward to shoot the flayers. Those guys push again forward 12. And here I'm starting to go near the spoil. Those guys, yeah, I find a position where they're not so annoying. I move back with the Frosty, move sideways with the Giant. Tricks that is a bit not so intuitive, but it's still according to rule how it works, which is I give the front to the Feldrak Elder, and he cannot charge me because his position would be illegal. He would be off the board partially with his base, so he cannot position, and it's not a block pass situation according rules. So this charge is basically impossible, which is basically stupid. I hope this will be fixed in the next version of the rules, but that's how it works, which allows me to be within 18 to make him march check and so on. You know, it goes with Giant. In the magic phase, I try to cast a fireball on 3 dice bounce spell onto his chaff piece. He dispels it. He dispels also the second one, but then I get Swarm of Insect off and I kill 1 of the flayers, which is nice. And then I also got with 2 dice against 3 a 2d6 strength 4 onto the horseman, but I did 0 wounds. I only did 1 with the blaze, which is still something. And with shooting, I'm going to clean the 4 remaining flayers. So this is great. It's turn 3. I got rid of 2 chaffs. I have still 1 chaff here and the second one here ready to be activated. So I felt I'm in good shape here. It's turn 3. Decided to charge my chaff. When I look back at the picture, I think he could have potentially put 3 models from me in base contact against his 2. Felt possible. So I think should have been slightly more to the left. Those guys needed to keep the inch with the swift reform against the dogs, meaning they cannot reform that way. They need to be straight or look the other way around, but they want to stay. They have those guys in the front, so he just moved back 4 inch. And other than that, yeah, he pushes here forward. At the moment, I cannot. I have the straight line free here, but I still cannot charge directly here because of the position of multiple units. He moves to the sides out of my line of sight, but still keeping me inside, meaning I cannot escape his line of sight on this part of the map. I have only here a very long charge or impossible charge. Okay, then let's move on to magic. I dispelled Gravecall with 6 dice against 4. Then he got +1 armor save on some cavalry barbarian and got a random smite that is -1 strength on the Frosty in case I attempt to charge, which I'm not going to do. And then close combat, he did 3 wounds to me. I did 0 to him. I elected to flee. I elected not to use general in BSB because I felt to flee is better for me, most likely. I mean, charging in the middle here, I could fit potentially. I lost by a lot, so I think it was no matter what a hard check, but I felt being in the middle here, I cannot overrun into them. They would have line of sight on me. Okay, I got rid of them, but what do I do? If I pursued, I just end up here, the rest moved around. Don't have leadership anymore. I felt it's kind of dangerous. He could also reform in a way that I could be here, but then he could countercharge. So I felt it's way better for me just to make the fleet check, and then I can chaff again or charge, and we'll see what he does. He passed the restraint check, and also I could this way I can save my chaff piece. On my turn, so a lot happened. Basically, what I did is first of all charge with the Death Star against those Feldrak. He prepared some flee pass for charges from this 3 unit. So he just fled over, ended up here. I redirect my charge, and now that this unit is not here anymore, I had the straight line, so I could move here, wheel around, and charge those guys. On the 8 Swift Ride, I made the charge. So this is huge. He couldn't flee because he would be off the board. I didn't see that coming, so I get that charge on. I attempted to chaff those guys, and I move the unit out of the arc of the Lord, so he cannot charge out because he doesn't see me, and the unit cannot charge me as well because they are chaffed because of this unit. So I felt it's nice. The same for here, I cannot charge into those guys, and I can easily get a good shooting phase, but not onto them, because if I kill 4, it would be free to charge basically, so I need to pay attention to that. Rally the dogs, those guys are on the spoil, move him a little bit but not much, and move the Giant here in a position to just be ready to charge and so on, so just to be a threat. Could have potentially here moved the Frosty, I think a bit here to the side to be ready to support, or I could have done something slightly better just by anticipating what would happen here, I think I could have been in a better position with the Frosty to just be more of a threat and support a bit better the Death Star. So I think here the placement of the Frosty is not the best one. In Magic Phase, I got Rod of Battle, he dispel with 1 dice, the small rod, then I got +1 resilience onto my main block, and that's it. Shooting, I did 4 wounds to the Feldrock, which was nice from the Murkrats. And close combat, I won by 6, so he had to check like double 1, I guess, non-rerollable, or rerollable, I don't know. But it just broke, fled, rolled a double 6, ended up still on the board. I had only 1 model in base contact, so I didn't do that much. And then I pursued but didn't catch him and overrun into the Exalted Herald. And he passes the panic check here on a 9, no reroll. So he fled that way. So he has 2 fling units. I'm in a good shape. I'm in a good overrun. So we'll see how the rest goes. He's turn 4. So he attempted to countercharge, but only with 1 of the horsemen, which I think makes sense because the second one would have just had me so much combat result. So 1 unit charged me in the flank. Here we are in combat, so it tries to stuck me and avoid any reform. He rallied those guys on 9 minimize and those guys on 8 on 2 dice. Placed him to chaff my giant, and here move to restrain somehow a little bit what I might do and prepare some counter charge and also go on the spoil. Uses the remaining of the cav to chaff the Murkrats in the front, minimizing the contact. Just want to stop them supporting these combats in the middle. And yeah, just ignore for the moment those guys. In the Magic Phase, he got a Binding Scroll +2 armor save, so I didn't want that either on the Herald or on the Horseman. I dispel Rod of Battle, and he still had 5 dice for the Smite, so I couldn't avoid I think he got the Smite. Oh no, he didn't Smite. He used a Gravecrawl, 4 dice reroll to wound, and just killed the Frosty. I think we made here, in hindsight, a small mistake. I think we solved it like strength 6. I didn't roll any armor save and so on, but should have been strength 5. He rolled good amount of hits and wounds, so I think it might still have been killing me. But like you can see, I should have expected the front arc is this way. Could have just put the Frosty in a better position here to support those combats, and I didn't do a good job, and I was punished for it with the Frosty basically. What happened then in close combat? So I don't know if I don't have any math, but I won by 1. I had a total of 9, he had 8. He took the challenge of my Great Khan with his champion, which I murdered, did some wounds here, and then I strike, but not that much. I kill only 2 with 3 bruises striking, so 10 attack of bruises, not so great. And I did only 2 wounds, I think, on the champion, and then my 2 mages plus the breast weapon went into him. I did 2 wounds to the Exalted Herald, he did some wounds to my unit, but I had Resilience 5, which is not easy for him. So basically I was still in a good shape. I won by 1, those guys fled, didn't pass the check, he ended up sticking. And he had, as you can see, the spell. So those guys were not minimized actually, I'm seeing it's on him. I think he got another spell. Yeah, it's on him and not on them. Yeah, he rallied before and then he got the Magic Phase, that's why. Okay. And I reformed that way, so now I have 2 ranks, a banner, and my Great Khan is going to challenge with a +3 static res, so I should be fine. On my turn 5, I move those guys forward to shoot him, move out of arc here, move those guys a bit out of the way, but couldn't do much, just prepare to chaff again, but it's a bit traffic jam. Those guys move a bit forward, but didn't want to get charged by that to free the space for them to charge here. And here I just chaff him, but not perfect. I should have angled a bit more to those guys to make harder for them to go here and so on. I could have done a slightly better positioning with the giant. Those guys go away with the spoil, and here I move on the spoil. I'm strong enough in the middle to get secondary normally. In the Magic Phase, I got +1 resilience, and I dispelled that, but I got hereditary on the unit, which should be enough. Shooting, I killed 3 of the Cavalier. Here I had a choice to make. I could have shot those guys, which are the hardest and the further away, with some covers. So I could have done 1 to wound, maybe 3. I could have shot the fling unit, but also with some small cover but short range in an attempt to kill some, which could have been a choice. Or I just decided to elected to shoot at them to reduce the number. In case he want to charge me turn 6 into them, he gets into a position to charge me. Then he wouldn't break my steadfast, wouldn't get so much attack and so on. So I felt this is the best choice. Which is what I did, so I killed 3 of them. And then close combat. Ended up doing 1 wound in the challenge onto the Exalted Herald. And it ended up doing 0 wounds to me, so I was winning by 4. He had a check on the 5, minimize, no reroll, and he passed that one, which is very important. I didn't anticipate that so well, to be honest. I felt I should be breaking through and so on, but didn't make the best choices here, meaning he's able to countercharge me. I reform in a way to make those guys not able to countercharge, so he can get those Feldrak and can get the Cavalier, but what I did as a huge mistake, as you will see, is that my Great Khan is out of combat. Basically, my Great Khan, no, it's not out of combat, but it's facing the Exalted Herald in a challenge at the moment, but I should have just been switching maybe something to make him able to strike at them later on. So I could have switched just the position of the Mage and the Great Khan, because I will not be able, after this round of combat, if I kill him, to strike at other unit, which I didn't anticipate. Like I said here, he had a straight line here, so I should have angled slightly better to make that completely impossible, because he could have maybe not charged here or try to reform and overrun later. So he can attempt something which is easily avoidable in wheeling a bit more here with the Giant. So not so happy with that. He turned around, still chaffing those guys, and he rallied on 8 or 9. I don't know, 8 I think. Yeah, it was that way. Yeah, maybe a 9. So rallied those guys. What did he get in Magic Phase? He got +2 armor save on those guys. I dispelled the smite, and that's it. In close combat, I have a lot of numbers for you, but basically he had only 1 Feldrak attacking and not the champion, so only 3 attack. He managed to do 2 wounds. He did 2 wounds with the Horseman. Nothing in the challenge on, I think it was on 3 up and then 5 up, and did nothing to my Great Khan. And with the two horses did nothing, so he did 4 wounds. He had 3 static res, which is charge, a flank, and a standard. And on my side, I did 2 wounds this time with the Great Khan, killing exactly the Exalted Herald, as you can see. The Bruisers did 2 wounds to the left, and then against the Horseman, I did another 3 wounds. So I had 7 + 2 static res, and he had 4 + 3, so it's a draw, which is not that bad. But I cannot reform due to being engaged in both flanks, and my Great Khan is now not able to strike anymore, and that's the mistake I was telling you about. My turn 6, so I'm blocking those guys. I get the secondary here, so I don't want them to charge me. Move, and I attempted a charge here into the flank. It's charge against those guys that flee. And then I redirect my charge, and I charge here in the flank, 7 on 2 dice, and I fail that charge. It's a huge charge, because if I get that off, as you can see, I get all those points, I free my Death Star, I can turn around, face the remaining 2 units, and I get a big win. But I fail it, unfortunately. The rest doesn't matter much. Movement. In the Magic Phase, I got Rod of Battle in, and I got Hereditary roll miscast. I think took some hits. But basically, I have Hereditary Rod of Battle. And he still has not so many base contacts, so I feel now I can potentially win it. He hasn't charged anymore, so less static res. And if I win it, and he flees at least with 1 unit, I can reform in a better way for the upcoming charges that are right here. So we will see the stat again. So he managed to do again 2 wounds with the lone Feldrak that failed the reform last round. He elected not to reform here. He didn't see before the overrun and stuff, and also the fact that I could have angled a bit better made us not so. But he could have also overrun here potentially, which is a mistake for me. I should have been angled more, not punished for that. So here he didn't reform those guys. Yeah, obviously he would have needed to pass a I think he lost. No, I had 7 against 9. He was losing by 2. Sorry. He was losing by 2 here. So he had 2 checks on the 6 rollable that he passes to stick. I think we counted badly and we made him only lose by 1. But no matter what, he passes both check but failed the reform of those guys. Meaning I would have need at least one of those -2 check to fail to allow me to reform in a good way, but I was also a bit lucky to kill the Exalted Herald, so nothing to complain about. Yeah, that's about the stats. So 2 wounds from the horseman and 1 wound from the horses, which matters a lot at the end. As you can see, he's a bit on the high part of the statistics, so he goes up to 5 wounds plus 2 static, and I roll pretty average here, slightly better than expected, average, so 6 plus 1. I didn't have a rank anymore, so this time it's a tie. And again, here I would have liked to win by a bit more, but that's how it is. His turn 6 is able to double charge here in the flank. Here still in my flank, he managed now to reform in a better way. And that's how it goes. In the magic phase, he rallied those guys on 8, so the rally check worked really well for War of the Dark God this game. What happened basically is going to end up killing my bruisers, but he tried here to kill the mage to break my steadfast, but managed only to do 2 wounds. As you can see, he has like a 45% chance, all of that combined, to kill the mage, which he didn't do. So the mage is alive. I had a 9 steadfast check, which I passed. So I ended up taking the bruisers, but not the rest of the unit. This guy ended up being out of combat because he could only strike at the bruisers. So the bruisers were died, and I passed the steadfast check, and that's it. And he elected here against charging because it's a 41% chance of the Chosen Lord dying into this combat. So against the Mercred's attack, which he didn't want to. Game result. We ended up being more or less tied. We forgot to count here the half of the point of the horseman, but other than that, the rest should be correct, which is close to a tie. And then I won secondary, which makes it a 13-7. Post-game analysis. Happy to start. Got rid of the chaff as quickly as planned, so that worked really well. I was quite happy of that. He wasn't able really to take advantage from his chaffing position. I think the first key moment before what I mentioned here is turn 3, the charge on 11. If I get that, that's the end of the game, basically. Shouldn't have given me that. Even a 12, I would have attempted the 12 as well, because if I get that, end of the game, 0 downside. So this type of long charges, if you have no downside, I think you have to take it if they can win you the game. It's slightly not the perfect position I would have taken if I wouldn't have charged, but more or less the same. So no downside really, and making the charge means end of the game. So yeah, I was right to take it. Turn 3, turn 4, yeah, first key moment with this first combat against the Feldrak and then against the Elder. The Elder holding on turn 5 was important to get the counter charge, and obviously dicey combat. He failed his first check on -2. He passes the first check on -2, and then for the second round we ended up tying. But if I would have placed my Great Khan better, maybe I would have won that round. I don't know. It's hard to say, because if I don't kill the Exalted Herald, then the Great Khan is placed perfectly to get maximum attack onto his cavalry, Barber and Horseman. So it's kind of hard to say what was the best decision here. Turn 4, turn 6, Ogre Khan. Failing the charge could have cost me the Death Star, obviously. I was close to breaking. It was a key charge from the Mercreds on a 7. If I get that, again, I get a big win. Didn't get it, so it was a risky combat for the Death Star. And it's typically this type of game where you get a good opening, good opportunity, but then I had not so much control. I think a huge mistake for me was the placement of the Frost Mammoth to be more in the flank and not... that is not able to kill me with Gravecrawl, and that I'm in a position to threaten with counter charge. So I was not so able to support my Death Star enough like I would have liked to with other unit, and I think here the Giant plays his part, but not the Frosty. So I should have done a bit better here. And yeah, a couple of important rally check. I mean, the turn where he flees with double Feldrak, if one of these doesn't rally, it's already something a bit different. So it's a couple of key rally check that he had also with the mage. That matters a good amount of points. I mean, the mage unit, it's again another point or maybe 2 at the end, so it still matter a bit. But yeah, also the fact that the mage unit, when he broke, luckily for him, he only fled by 5. If he would have fled like middle, like 8 or so, I would have been able to see him with the Trispan and push him off the board. So also an important moment here. Guys, that's all for this battle report. Really interesting battle. Couple of action points. Always entertaining battles on Spoil of War or all the ground as well against War of the Dark God. So really interesting to play the battle. And talk to you soon on the channel for another practice game. Bye bye.